Hey, how's it going, everybody? Expat Stacker. You know, at the end of my videos, I've started saying much love and respect. And here's the thing about respect with me. It's mutual respect. And usually I try to give people respect, you know, from the beginning. And, you know, because when you give mutual respect, you get mutual respect, you know. And people can earn more respect over time based on their actions, and that's what I try to do. I give mutual respect, try to establish a relationship with other people and other groups of people as well. It doesn't just have to be individuals, you know. I don't try to disrespect other people just because I'm different than them or I don't agree with them. I try to show mutual respect even if I strongly disagree with them. I'm not gonna just disrespect their whole entire group. If I have problems with them, I'll say what it is, but I'll do it respectfully, you know. So that's what it is with me, you know. I give respect and I expect that back in return as just, you know, common decency. But if somebody wants to get disrespectful, then that's where I'm gonna draw the line. I'm not gonna let you walk all over me or my loved ones or my people, you know. So basically I'm making this video arguing against this individual because he was disrespectful, very disrespectful. And not only that, he's wrong. Wrong. And he spreads a lot of misinformation and disinformation. And we need people to speak out against that when that happens. So that's why I am going to be offering a rebuttal to a pretty infamous video, which is currently about 6 months old or so. It's got over 120,000 views. It's called "Why You Shouldn't Buy Physical Gold and Silver in 2021" from a channel called Nolan Matthias. And this gentleman has 14,000 subscribers. His channel is about giving financial advice. And he's kind of, I guess, considers himself to be some sort of financial expert. In this video, I'm going to be explaining why I don't think that's the case. I don't think he's an expert. I don't even really think he's that smart. But, you know, if this guy, basically, in this video that we're going to go through and I'm going to comment on, he talks about having a bad experience buying gold and silver. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And even if somebody had that experience and then decided they didn't want to invest in gold and silver and they wanted to tell other people not to do it, you know, I really wouldn't necessarily have a problem with that. There are some stacking channels. Cash and Coins, for example, has a video where he talks about a bad experience at a local coin shop. But he still stacks. And that's because he actually used the bad experience as a learning experience, and it also wasn't his first time in investing in something. So look, I think that the value of going through this video and hearing me comment on it is it's going to teach some people what not to do, not just about gold and silver, but about kind of anything in life, really. So if you're somebody who's new to gold and silver, definitely watch this video, especially if you're somebody who, you know, is on the fence about maybe I should I, or shouldn't I'm not sure. Please watch this video. And even if you're an experienced gold and silver stacker, you know, this video I think still has a lot of points that could be helpful, because we have to argue about this. This is not something new. I've had you know, my podcast, the Silvercast, and Silver Conundrum, and I have interviewed people, and many people talk about how when they explain to others, even family and friends, that they are investing in physical gold and silver, people look at them sideways. People look at them like they're crazy, insane. And, you know, basically that's kind of what this guy Nolan Matthias does towards the end of his video, and that's what prompted me to offer response and a rebuttal, because this video it's halfway to 250,000 views. So I don't want people to see this and think that this is the story. So let's go ahead and get into watching this video. I'm going to be playing parts of it and then commenting on it.
And what I found out was that the gold and metal shop that I bought this bar from, they knew what this was. They knew it was worth less. But because I was in there asking questions, trying to learn, trying to get educated by people who I thought were experts that were on my side, well, they basically took advantage of me.
Okay, so that's the intro to his video, and basically right away, problem number one. He's describing that he didn't know anything about gold and silver, and he went into a local coin shop and he was asking questions. He was clearly naive and he didn't know what he was talking about, didn't know what he was doing. He was trying to learn, and he said that he thought that the people that were in there were experts and on his side. Okay, mistake number one, buddy, and this is on you. Why would you assume that they're on your side? You're about to potentially give them money. So somebody who stands to profit from your ignorance, you have no relationship with them whatsoever. They don't know if you're going to ever come in there again. You know, why would you think that they would be on your side? So the first mistake that's being described right here is giving away trust and not knowing what you're doing right away. So we're going to get back into this because this part comes up again in the video and I'll comment on it more in a moment. But that's just mistake number one. Don't just trust people, you know, assuming that everybody's going to be there to help you. The whole world is ready to help you and on your side. That ain't the way it is.
Okay, so let's get into it. What is the stupidest investment that I've ever made? And quite frankly, also the coolest investment I have ever made? Well, it's this. It's buying physical gold and silver. This is honestly one of the coolest things, being able to sit here and hold, basically in this pile alone, $5,000 worth of silver and having a little bit of gold kicking around as well. This is really cool. And this is an investment that started for me back in 2014 as silver prices were starting to come down, as the fear from the financial crisis was coming out of the market, and as there was starting to become more and more deals on buying physical silver and gold. And this was nothing that I ever expected that I would invest in myself, but it came about as a result of an investment newsletter that I was subscribed to that was all based around value investing.
Okay, so just one real quick thing here. Basically, the way he found out about gold and silver is through an investment newsletter that he was subscribed to about value investing. He doesn't name which newsletter it is, so I have no idea about the legitimacy of it, but it kind of speaks to this guy's overall character, in my opinion. He's got this newsletter coming to him, and he thinks that people are just going to be giving him information about how to invest and how to make money. Like, this guy's overall vibe to me is quite lazy, and I think as you continue to listen to his story, you're going to also hear that.
Value investing is the type of investing that Warren Buffett does. So finding companies that are worth a lot, that are undervalued, and investing in those. And that investment strategy is where the similarities to Warren Buffett ended.
You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
Warren Buffett doesn't have any similarities with silver because of value investing. I don't know if this guy knows about Warren Buffett's history with silver, but that's not a dissimilarity with Warren Buffett. This guy needs to look into history a little bit more. But I guess with this person, if it's not just given to him on a platter, he's not really going to know about it. So I know that's a little bit harsh, but my point is, I wanted to make that point strongly, and I want you to judge for yourself throughout the rest of the video. Point number two is, don't be lazy. All right, so point number one was, don't trust people just willy-nilly expecting that everyone out there in the world is trying to help you. Number two, just because you're subscribed to a newsletter and you read it, that doesn't mean you're an expert on anything. You need to do more research on stuff yourself. And this guy is going to prove that point perfectly.
Because they also got into the piece about having precious metals as a hedge against inflation and currency devaluation, and also holding it physically rather than in certificates or in ETFs, so that if anything ever happened in a country that you lived in and you wanted to bug out to a different country, much like the Jewish people had to do in Nazi Germany during the World War II, well, physical gold and silver was the best means of doing that. Now,
in my opinion, that is really not a reason why people stack gold and silver. Is it like a side benefit of gold and silver? Yeah, but that's not the reason why people do it. This guy makes it sound like that's the main reason why people hold physical gold rather than a gold certificate. Really, that's not the case. And he's going to continue to prove his ignorance again and again.
Physical gold may have been a good means of being able to transport money over borders, which, by the way, I'm not recommending. But physical silver certainly isn't. You know, this is about $5,000 worth of physical silver, and it is heavy as hell. I think there's about 160 ounces here, so about 10 pounds. I wouldn't want to be carrying this on an airplane to go to Europe or some other country right now.
Yeah, basically every single stacking channel ever who has tried to make a video that talks like, you know, introing stacking silver and gold to new people, everyone says that silver is not transportable. So I don't know if this guy thinks he's breaking news or, like, you know, he's like dunking on silver stackers or something, but like that's something that we acknowledge. So not really making a point here.
But it was interesting because that value investing newsletter got me hooked on what's called stacking in the gold and silver world. And stacking is exactly what it sounds like. It's taking physical gold and silver and collecting as much as you can of it over a certain amount of years.
It's false.
Okay, just a real quick point there. You know, this might have been subconscious from him. I mean, he might not have meant to say this, but he said buying as much gold and silver as you can. And that's not necessarily the case for all stackers, you know. I guess more or less you got a pretty accurate description there of what stackers do and one of the main reasons why. But there is a lot more to it than that. And personally, I don't stack as much as humanly possible. I have other investments in other asset classes. So maybe that was another mistake that this guy made. Not sure, but you know, again, maybe I'm reading too much into what he said right there about as much as you can, but that's not necessarily what stacking is. In my opinion, if you're a stacker for the long term, which if your one of your reasons for doing is a hedge against inflation, then you would be stacking for the long term, because inflation doesn't just happen, you know, all of a sudden. That would be hyperinflation, and gold and silver would be good in that case as well, but most of us are not necessarily really expecting that to happen. You know, we're expecting over the long term. It's better to keep your money in gold and silver than in a savings account at the bank where it does nothing except for lose value. So doing it in a sustainable way is actually what's best, not just doing it as much as you can. So if that was his mentality going into it, mistake number 3.
And basically creating a hedge against inflation and currency devaluation as a result of having physical metal. And this is something that is just absolutely unnecessary as far as I'm concerned.
Wrong.
It's something that I did for a while. It was fun, but there are far better ways for me to invest in silver and gold, and that is by using my BMO Investor Line or my Questrade account.
Are those the people who paid you to make this video? I'm just asking questions.
In order to purchase mining companies.
Mining stocks are not the same thing as gold and silver, physical gold and silver. Mining companies are companies, okay? Stocks are stocks. Gold and silver are different. If you don't know the difference between those two things, I have videos on investing in different asset classes. And if you don't understand why mining stocks are different than actually having physical gold and silver, well, that's another topic for another video, but let me assure you, they are not the same thing. They can expose you to the commodity space, but that's where the similarities end. Mining companies are companies, all right? They're going after the commodity. Holding gold and silver is actually holding the physical commodity. one of the benefits that this guy fails to mention is that there's no counterparty risk with holding physical gold and silver. If you're holding a mining stock, there is.
Or if I really, really want to, certificates in physical gold and silver.
No.
Very different. And paper gold and silver is not the same thing as physical gold and silver. All right. It just isn't. Once again, counterparty risk. We've seen what platforms can do. They can just shut something down if they don't like the way it's trading. We saw that with, Robinhood, TD Ameritrade. That's what they did to the people who were doing the short squeeze with the AMC and the GameStop stocks and everything like that. So, altcoins, cryptocurrencies, they get delisted by governments, they get banned. So there's counterparty risk with all of those things. That's why one of the catchphrases, one of the classic cliches that we live by in the stacking community is, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. And this guy doesn't understand that. It's kind of ironic too, because he's holding physical silver in his hand and he doesn't understand that.
But, it was interesting because this investment was definitely an investment I learned a lot about, because one, you learn how the system works. Obviously, people who are buying gold are paying less for it than the people who are selling gold, because typically you have to sell to dealers and they're obviously getting a better deal from you than you're getting from them.
Pure fiction.
Okay, so I don't think he actually learned a lot, because why would you say typically you have to sell to dealers? I mean, it's not like this guy made this video in 1996, when the internet first came out and it was kind of hard to, meet people who are in the same community as you. This guy wants to talk about like how easy it is to buy and sell and transact with, his brokerage accounts with fake paper gold and silver, but he doesn't want to understand that we can sell to each other. I mean, I don't know why he says typically you have to sell it back to dealers. I've done that and I didn't get ripped off. I made money on it. I have videos on that, and I'm going to bring that up again in a moment. But like, I don't know why he said typically you have to sell it back to dealers. Like, yeah, you buy it above the spot price, but if you sell it, depending on who you sell it to and what it is, there's no reason you have to go below the spot price. So, and another thing that he says here, they're getting a better deal than you are, but that depends on the timeline. Even if I bought it over spot and sold it under spot, which is something I did on my channel, I have a video on it. Depending on how long you've been holding it for, you can still profit from it. Whereas if I had that money in bank, no, I would be losing money against inflation. So, again, he didn't learn anything.
The other thing I realized was that there's a lot to know about buying physical gold and silver, and it's really easy to get screwed. And I'll use this bar as an example, because this is the very first bar of silver that I ever bought. It's a 10-ounce NTR metals bar. I bought it from the exact same company that I bought this bar from, which is a Sunshine 10-ounce silver bar. I paid about $2 difference between this bar and this bar. This one I think I paid about $245 for, and this one about $247 for. And again, bought them from the exact same gold and silver shop, and I paid pretty much the same price. Now, what was interesting was a few years later, when I went to sell this bar, the NTR bar, back to that same gold and silver shop, they basically told me that it was worth 15% less than this one. So in today's terms, this bar is worth about $330. This one is worth $280. So there's about a 15% or a $50 difference between these two bars, even though they're supposed to be exactly the same thing. And what I found out was that the gold and metal shop that I bought this bar from, they knew what this was. They knew it was worth less, but because I was in there asking questions, trying to learn, trying to get educated by people who I thought were experts that were on my side, well, they basically took advantage of me.
Okay, so look, they're dishonest, and you realize that when you went back to go sell it to them. Now look, in my opinion, those two bars are generic silver bars. There's really no difference. Maybe Sunshine Minting Bar is slightly more recognized, but it's still generic. And in my opinion, you basically should get The price spread between those two is not 15%. It isn't. It might be 1.5% or 0.15. It's not 15%. They lied to you, so you realize that they were dishonest, and obviously you didn't sell it to them because you're still holding them. So great. But what you should have done then is go out and try to see what other people have to say about it. Again, this guy started stacking in 2014. The internet was around at that time. You had the resources to, if you wanted to, learn more. So that's what you should have done. Also, when it comes to gold and silver, one thing he said that's right is there is a lot to know, right? So, but you got to know that stuff when you buy, because once you buy, you're in, you know? So when it comes time to get out, that's when a lot of people learn these hard lessons, including this guy. But really, I don't think he actually learned anything, because he seems to want people to give him information. It sounds like so far he hasn't talked about anybody else. He hasn't talked about any friends or any other stackers. He just talked about only himself. So he thinks he knows everything because he has like an investment newsletter coming to him every month or something like that, and like he thinks like he mastered this game or whatever. No, dude, you can negotiate with the local coin shop, you know? So yeah, I mean, I just think that like what he's describing here is like he just took everybody's word for it and like just takes the first thing that he hears, and like that's what he thinks is the truth, without doing any digging on his own or any type of like critical thinking or discussing it with anyone else. So that's why I said he's lazy. Let's continue to listen to what he has to say. Because so far, honestly, if this was it, like I wouldn't have a problem with it. I would think, the guy is not that bright, but yeah, he just had a bad experience. I don't mind the video. You're going to find out why I decided to make this video and take this guy down.
And they had these two bars sitting beside each other, and instead of picking up this one, they picked up this one, handed it to me, and charged me significantly more than what it was worth.
And by the way, when you were in there, did you ask them, well, what's the difference between these two?
And what I realized was that when you're dealing in gold and silver, the margins are so freaking thin that the companies that do business in this realm are basically incentivized to screw you if they can.
Wrong. It's a total fabrication.
That isn't true. If it was, then this thing would be over with, you know? Yeah, there are thin margins. There's a lot of thin margins in pretty much every industry, especially something that okay, so it doesn't mean they're incentivized to screw you. It means the profit margins are thin, so they need to sell a lot of it. Not only that, he's talking only about generic bullion right now. That doesn't include anything to do with numismatic values where the profit margins are huge. So again, this guy does not know what he's talking about. He just completely skips that over. It's like he doesn't even know it exists.
And I've heard lots of stories now of people buying fake gold and silver, thinking that what they were getting was real, and ultimately getting stuff that absolutely was not. So this is definitely a situation where it's buyer beware.
It's a fake.
Fake gold and silver, yeah, that's existed for a very long time. Hey, have you ever heard of Bernie Madoff before, bro? You ever heard of Elizabeth Holmes before? You ever heard of Enron? Like, he acts like gold and silver is the only place where you can get screwed over. Fraud happens anywhere there's money involved, there's going to be crime involved with it, you know? So I don't know why he's acting like this is specifically uniquely bad with gold and silver. You have to know what you're buying and test it, and that's why being in the stacking community and not pretending like you know everything is helpful, because you can learn from other people. If Bernie Madoff and Elizabeth Holmes and all these other people who have done these financial scams and crimes and Ponzi schemes, there's really no way you can know, because these people are like reputable. They have like banks behind them and like other very reputable people who you're supposed to trust, and it's a crime of deception, not of like a physical fake. So I would argue that like if you know what you're looking for and you know what you're doing, then spotting fake gold and silver is that probably easier than avoiding financial crimes and fraud. that happen with paper assets. So like, I don't know why this guy's acting like, you know, gold and silver is the only place where people try to rip you off, because that's not true at all. In a lot of cases, I've seen videos of some stackers on YouTube where like they bought a coin from somebody on eBay or something like that, and they found out it was actually fake, and the person returned it and got their money back. Now, I'm not saying that happens all the time. Yeah, buyer beware, but that's with any financial asset, man. People have bought real estate and then realized that the ground that it's on is like toxic or worthless or whatever, and it's worth, you know, like this happens with every single financial asset you can imagine. Again, this guy's mentality is just like, oh, no one is trying to rip me off. Everything is gonna be okay. Oh man, I didn't get the price I was expecting with this silver bar, so it's a rip off. No, bro.
Now, as an alternative, I could have bought the exact same amount of silver that I own right here. I could have bought it in my BMO Investor Line account.
It's all of his donors and special interests out there.
In a certificate, or I could have bought an ETF. And I could have been 100% certain that the silver I was buying was real, because an expert on the other side was taking care of making sure that it was real.
An expert on the other side makes sure and takes care that it's real. Is that how it works, man? Is that how it works, Nolan? Oh my goodness, man. Look, hey, if you think that that's how it works, I really highly suggest that you watch the video that I made, which has unclassified or declassified CIA documents that show that governments and private banks are manipulating precious metals markets. It's not a conspiracy. It's not oh, I think it's happening. No, it's happening. They've released the documents and they plan for it. They say, well, if this happens, we're going to do this. I've gone through this. It's primary source material. It's not a conspiracy. It's not what if. It's not he said, she said. It's not I read it on this website. I have the actual document in the video that has been released through a Freedom of Information request. Some parts are redacted, but the parts that I read and go through show very clearly that the paper prices of gold and silver are manipulated. So I don't know what this guy is talking about. Like, oh, there's a guy on the other side who's making sure my silver is real. That is not how it works. Even if you think that like paper gold and silver is legitimate, that is not how it works. It just isn't. So I can't do anything but just laugh at this part, that this guy is supposed to be a financial expert and advisor on YouTube. I'm sorry, but that's ridiculous. Look, if you want to talk about cryptocurrency or stocks or real estate and you know about that stuff, go ahead, man. Talk about that. But you don't know anything about gold and silver, so don't talk about it again.
Quiet.
And that I wasn't going to lose 15% of my investment just because I was an idiot.
Oh yeah, you were an idiot. You got that part right. Hey, he said it, not me, you know?
The other thing that I realized about this product was I have to physically store this in a bank safety deposit box, or I have to take the risk of storing it at home, having extra insurance, and risking having a fire or it getting stolen.
Hey man, I don't know if you know this, but there's risk involved with every single thing you do and don't do. So yeah, again, any stacking channel you go to who tries to introduce stacking to new people talks about how storage is an issue that you need to take care of, as is security.
And that all sucks, and that all adds to the cost of owning this investment.
No, that doesn't all suck. Again, this is a specific asset class with pros and cons, just like everything else. All right, there's costs and risks associated with every single thing you do. You maybe were not familiar, or you hadn't really thought about how much, you know, it would require you to do something to store your physical silver. Again, you seem like a very lazy person and you didn't think it through. You didn't plan for it. You didn't realize it until it was too late.
And at the end of the day, there was a whole bunch of reasons why they suggested physical silver or gold First was that it was cool.
You're wrong. Not this time. It never happened.
I don't know who they is he's referring to. They, there's a whole bunch of reasons they suggested physical gold and silver. First is they said it's cool. What? Could you show me who said that? Like, was that the shop that you went to? You said it's cool. You said it's cool. Nobody, I haven't heard anyone say the number one reason you should stack gold and silver is because it's cool. I mean, I think Mill Stacks made a video that said it's not cool, or like it's boring or something like that. Like, what is this guy talking about? I've never heard anyone say it's cool, that's why you should do it. I mean, I do think it's cool, but that's not the reason I do it. It's like, again, it's like one of those side note things. And so is this next point he's about to bring up.
The second was that if you ever needed to leave a country and go to a different country with it, you could basically hide it and smuggle it into another country. Again, don't endorse that, but that was a big reason.
Once again, that's like a side benefit of it, you know? That's not like, I mean, I'm an expat. I'm not even living in my home country, and that's not even like one of my top 5 reasons. I mean, I do think about that, and I do think about like how transportable it is, but like, that isn't one of the main reasons why I stack. I don't know where he's getting this from.
And in 2020, that reason is nowhere close to as valid as it was in 2014. Because in today's day and age, if I wanted to go to a different country and take over $10,000 with me, which is the amount that you legally have to declare. By the way, I don't suggest doing that, but let's say it was 1945, Nazi Germany, and I need to get out of the country with a bunch of money. Well, I'm not doing it with a bunch of gold coins anymore. I'm probably taking a USB drive that has Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrency on it. So,
okay, here's the thing about cryptocurrency. Number one, it does not have a track record of holding its value in, you know, difficult, uncertain times. If anything, it's extremely volatile. Now, will it continue to be that way? We don't know, but you're going to tell me that like Bitcoin is safer than gold? Bitcoin is more stable than gold? No, I don't think so. Number 2, you need access to technology, the internet, computer with Bitcoin. Gold, I can just hand it to somebody. So if I was like if North Korea took over South Korea or something and I had to get the hell out of the country, I'll be like, oh, here's a USB drive with Bitcoin on it. How are they gonna know? Right? Like, no, dude, it's not the same thing. And transporting money with Bitcoin, yeah, that's one way to do it, but it's not the same thing. And he just acts like it's just like a no-brainer, like, oh, it's 2021, so obviously technology, bro. Nah, man, I'm sorry. Some things don't change, and you need to realize that. If there was some type of situation where you were desperate, and if there was like an infrastructure collapse or something like that, Bitcoin and a USB drive would be pretty much worthless. And again, a USB drive and gold, that's a USB drive with Bitcoin on it, is also something you have to physically store and is also susceptible to fire or theft or all the other same things that gold is susceptible to. So what if the governments shut down the exchanges? Again, counterparty risk. There's less risk with Bitcoin, but there's still risk. And this guy doesn't seem to get that. Once again, he really didn't learn any of the lessons. He doesn't even seem to understand the basic differences between different asset classes.
you know, all the reasons for holding this stuff basically don't make any sense.
Wrong.
Okay, and here we go. This is the next sentence is the reason why I decided to make this video and take this dude down.
And the only reason that somebody really becomes a stacker in today's day and age, in my opinion, is if they're a conspiracy theorist.
Okay, wait a second, bro. Conspiracy theorists? Stacking gold and silver makes you a conspiracy theorist? So is that why every single government around the world stacks gold and silver? Because they're conspiracy theorists? That was like the catalyst for me to just make this video, because no, dude. First of all, your reasons and your characterization of why people stack. Oh, it's cool, and oh, you can bug out to another country. Again, side things. Those are not the reasons why most people stack. The guy doesn't understand the difference between generic, government minted, numismatic, and he thinks that like, oh, you know, the only reason why people do it is because they're conspiracy theorists. Okay, go to my video where I go to the Korean bullion shop and I sell my first ever piece of silver, the generic 1 kilogram silver bar. Tell me what about that is conspiracy. I wanted to save money. I bought the bar. I sold it 2 years later and made a small profit. What about that is conspiracy, bro? You did not have to say that. Like, this is where you cross the line.
Okay, well, check this out. The first, I'm gonna take him as disrespect. Watch your mouth.
Now you're just like attacking all of us stackers or anybody who's into precious metals. There are so many different aspects and reasons for doing this. What if some people are collectors? What if some people are into flipping coins? What if some people like numismatic coins? And guess what? It gets worse, guys. So let us continue watching.
They think that this is better than cash or better than holding an investment in a online investment portfolio.
There's no question that gold and silver are better than cash. Okay, that's not debatable. Fiat cash by design becomes less valuable over time. This guy doesn't understand what cash is. I have Roman coins that are gold and silver that speak otherwise to directly counter this point. It's not me saying it, it is physical evidence against what this guy is actually saying. I do not understand why anyone would take financial advice from this guy.
And therefore, you know, they think that the world one day will come to an end and this is what's going to be able to save them. And you know what? I don't think that this is what's going to save somebody from basically not having any money or having any sort of ability to buy things if the economy goes to, you know, hell in a handbasket.
This one was invented by a writer.
Hey, no, we don't think that gold and silver are going to save us in a situation where there's a societal collapse. Again, that he's talking about preppers, which is not the same thing as stackers, although there's a lot of overlap. But that is not what people think. Go to the prepping channels. You will see. They say gold and silver are great, but it's worthless if you're not stacking ammunition, weapons, supplies, food, water, medicine. Okay, so again, this guy just does not know what he's talking about. It does get much, much worse. You notice that he's only touched the silver that's been in front of him, and there's other stuff on the side. When he gets to that, this gets a lot worse.
So, you know, this was a fun investment for basically 7 years. It was an interesting investment for 7 years. It's one that I definitely wouldn't make again. All of this stuff, all this gold and silver is going to be gone by the time that you watch this video, except for this bar. This NTR bar. I might keep this just as a reminder myself of why you shouldn't invest in things that you don't understand.
Okay, well, at least right there, he admitted his mistake. He didn't understand what he was investing in. Unfortunately, I don't think he actually learned the lesson, because you can tell by what he said here. He really didn't try to learn anything. He was just discouraged and started blaming everyone else for his lack of understanding.
Now, in comparison to this, you'll also see that there's another pile of stuff over here. This is all things that my grandparents and my parents collected. This all has sentimental value. This isn't going anywhere. It's going straight back in the safety deposit box.
Wait. You just said the only reason for somebody to stack gold and silver is because they're a conspiracy theorist. And now you just said, oh, this has sentimental value, not this one. Okay, so there are other reasons why people stack. So that's why this gets a lot worse. This guy is a hypocrite. He cannot even see past his own nose. There are numismatic values. There are sentimental values. There are so many different ways of measuring the value of gold and silver. there are even more reasons why people do it, and to basically boil it all down and call everybody who does it a nut job conspiracy theorist is just downright disrespectful. And look, man, like I said, if you wanted to make a video saying the downsides of your experience and you think other people shouldn't do it, feel free, man. I have no problem. I'm a live and let live type person. But when you start putting other people down and spreading misinformation and disinformation, and then you turn into a hypocrite, well, that's where I draw the line. And that's why I had to make this video. So I just can't believe that this guy can be so clumsy and not think rationally or logically. Like, well, the only reason why people have gold and silver is because they're conspiracy theorists. And by the way, I have this other pile of gold and silver over here, and I'm keeping it for sentimental reasons.
Because this sort of thing is really cool. And where I would spend a little bit of money going forward in coins and precious metals is in things that got discontinued. So things like old Canadian money, $20 bills, $10 bills, things like pennies, things like nickels when they eventually stopped making those. I think they're all cool investments. And
why would you spend money on that stuff? Because it has a historical value, a novelty to it. Yeah, that's pretty much like numismatic value. Coins that have limited mintages, you know, rarity. You just described that because they're discontinued. Again, super hypocritical, super frustrating. So yeah, look, I'm not gonna continue on with the rest of the video. This guy is disrespectful, spreads misinformation, disinformation, and I don't know if he's doing that on purpose. Maybe he got paid to do it. Maybe he knew that this video would get a lot of clicks because a lot of people are starting to invest in gold and silver. So to hear somebody going against the grain, you know, that's kind of like a clickbait thing. I mean, even among stackers, I mean, you know, we all have seen the clickbait videos like, don't buy silver right now and whatever. And like, you know, it gets a lot of clicks, whatever. Again, I don't make any videos against that stuff. I know some people have been annoyed by that in the past. I just don't pay attention to it. But this right here, this guy's saying it's stupid. He's saying people who do it are conspiracy theorists. He's saying there's no point to it because you can do other assets. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Okay, so I don't know like this guy's background. I don't know anything else about him except for this video, and I don't want to know anything else about him. But I did want to make a video rebutting what he says and rebuking what he says and showing how he's wrong, showing how he's a hypocrite. And you know what? Look, most of the time I try to keep it respectful and just keep it positive, but we all know that life is not always like that. So once in a while, when I encounter this type of thing, I want to speak out. I want to speak back against it. And if there's somebody who's new, who's just getting into this, you know, consider my side. Consider the other side. This guy seems like a know-it-all. He doesn't seem like he has any stacker friends or anything. He just thinks he knows everything because he gets an investment letter delivered. I've researched hours and hours and hours and months and years. I've talked to other people. I have interviews on my shows, on my channel, so that people can share their perspectives. I've literally made like really good friends with people who otherwise I probably would have never spoken to before because we're different in so many different ways. You know, be open-minded about stuff. Don't be like this guy and think that you know it all and you know everything and that this is, you know, completely stupid and worthless. You know, I've seen people act like this about cryptocurrencies or about stocks and stuff like that too. And like, you know, it's the same thing. Like, you don't have to be like that, you know. It doesn't do anything but hurt you. So keep an open mind, guys. Keep it positive, but also know when to draw the line and to call out someone's BS. And don't let other people disrespect you or you know, put you down for something that you believe in. All right.
Wait. Last thing.
Much love and respect to all my stackers out there. Expat, I'm out.